like to call, it's on? Yeah. I'd like to call the Langston County July 25th Board of Supervisors meeting to order. Let us stand for the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. At this particular time, we're going to have a special presentation, HR 64 presentation by Delegate Hillary Kent.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys for allowing me to use this opportunity. I hear myself. That's terrible. To use this opportunity to do a special presentation. Oh,
Can you mute that, Charlie?
thank you. It's bad when you hear yourself and you're like, do I sound like that? So yes, thank you. You're good. Thank you. To use this opportunity to present a resolution to a special Lancaster County resident who has served. And at this time, if it's okay with you all, I'd like to ask Bill Webb to come up. And maybe I can just talk really loud if that's okay, and do this halfway with the audience. One of my distinct honors and one of my most treasured humble honors is that I get to do resolutions in the House of Delegates and with the Senate for folks who have made an impact on our community. And so it was certainly a great honor upon the retirement of William Webb to present a resolution on his behalf to the House of Delegates. In the House of Delegates, they have rolls of resolutions, memorial and committee resolutions, that will remain in the history books of Virginia. So when our great-great-great-grandchildren go and see what was going on in 2024, I'm proud to say that the House of Delegates and the Senate, Senator Stewart passed the same in the Senate side. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here this evening. Passed a resolution where it will show your service in the history books of the Virginia rolls in the House of Delegates and the Senate. So I just want to take this opportunity and read which was signed and passed in both the House and the Senate, honoring all of the service. So the Commonwealth of Virginia, the General Assembly presents House Resolution number 64, commending William A. Webb, agreed to by the House of Delegates February 5th, 2024. Whereas William A. Webb, a distinguished law enforcement officer who served the residents of the Northern Neck for 47 years as a member of several police agencies, retired from the Lancaster County Sheriff's Office 2023. And whereas William Bill A. Webb began his career with the Northumberland County Sheriff's Office January 1st, 1976, and graduated from the Police Academy the following July. And whereas Bill Webb served with the Northumberland County Sheriff's Office until 1985, when he joined the Kilmarnock Police Department, then transferred to the Lancaster County Sheriff's Office in 1986. And whereas Bill Webb rose through the ranks of the Lancaster County Sheriff's Office to become the Lieutenant of the Patrol Division and then Lieutenant of the Detective Division, and whereas beginning in 2008, Bill Webb served the community as a part-time courtroom security deputy for the Lancaster County Sheriff's Office and as a part-time detective for the Northumberland County Sheriff's Office. And whereas over the course of his career, Bill Webb also served 2 stints as chief of the Whitestone Police Department from August 1992 to July 2002, and from January 2008 to July 2012. And whereas Bill Webb returned to the Lancaster County Sheriff's Office as a full-time chief deputy on January 1st, 2016, and served in that capacity for 7 years. And whereas Bill Webb served and protected the residents of the Northern Neck with the utmost dedication, integrity, and professionalism, now therefore be it resolved by the House of Delegates that William A. Webb hereby be commended on the occasion of his retirement as a law enforcement officer in 2023. And be it resolved further that the clerk of the House of Delegates prepare a copy of this resolution for presentation to William A. Webb as an expression of the House of Delegates' admiration for his legacy of exceptional service to the Northern Neck community, signed by the Clerk of the House of Delegates. So thank you, Mr. Webb, for all of your service. Would you mind taking this and also maybe with the other officers that are here
Sure.
today to honor Mr. Webb?
Get one of just the two of you.
And the Board of Supervisors folks too? We can go this way. Sorry, I should have cut this back. We would love for y'all to be here. Mr. Lee, I'm not trying to walk you.
Right, there we go. Perfect. Hold on one second. All right, thank you.
Thank you all so much. Thank you, Mr. Webb. Yes, absolutely.
I want to say too that I want to thank the Board of Supervisors again. I was so shocked the first time that I was told for one thing, they didn't tell me what's going on. But I really do appreciate both these resolutions. This is a great honor. And I'll cherish this the rest of my life, I'm sure. Also, I would say, I have loved every minute of it. It's almost 48 years, but I've loved every bit of it. I'm glad I chose that career path, and would never, if I had to do it again, I would do it again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Delegate Kent, thank you for the presentation.
Thank you all so much. Thank you for your time and letting me do it today.
Come back anytime.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Just give me a little more notice.
All right, now we're moving into the public input session. And as always, we have 3 minutes to speak. So, and at the end of 2 minutes, I will hold this up, let you know that you have 1 minute left. So if you have anything to say, get right to the point. Just tell us what you have to say so you don't run out of time. All right, at this particular time, the floor is now open for public input. Do we have any public input? Do we have any online?
No, he backed out.
All right, floor now closed for public input. All right, VDOT.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good to be with you all. We gave Mike the week off, so he's on vacation with his family. But he's been busy. We've cleaned ditches on Rocky Neck Road, Waverly Avenue, and on Akron Road. He graded Field Trial Road. We've cutting brush on Courthouse, Hatton Avenue, and on Mary Point Road. We've been keeping up with potholes, sign repairs, and work orders countywide. On the plan, they're planning to ditch Bewley Road, cut brush on Weems Road, keep up with the potholes, and we have some shoulder repairs on Route 3, and we have an asphalt patch on Middlegate to do. The improvement we made at Carter's Cove intersection with Johns Neck is complete. I think that turned out well. The plant mix schedule on 200, if you've been to Irvington, you've seen that going on. I do appreciate everybody's patience, the residents and the businesses along there dealing with the construction and the traffic. Hopefully we'll get in and out of there and have a nice road there for the next decade or so. The Cape Seal, we still have the final slurry to put down on Little Bay. I expect that work's not on the 2-week look ahead yet, but I expect to see it probably about mid-August, towards the end of August, where they'll complete that work. The surface treatment has been underway for a while. That schedule should finish up by the end of the month. The only other updates I have on the structure and bridge, the scour work on Camps Prong on Route 3 outside of Kilmarnock, that has been awarded or is in the process of being awarded. The pre-con should be in the next couple of weeks. The pre-construction meeting, sorry, I won't use that abbreviation. The pre-construction meeting will be in the next couple of weeks, and I'll find out their schedule. They were awarded 4 different jobs. 3 of them are in the Northern Neck. 1 of them is in Lancaster. I don't know which order they will go in, but as soon as I have a more firm schedule, I'll let you know. And Mr. Bellis, you had asked me about right-of-way on the Oyster Creek Bridge job, and that's a design build. It's in design right now. The contractor's been selected. The design is underway. When they get a little further along with design towards the end of the year, they'll start to reach out to property owners, but it'll be about the end of the year, first of next year before that happens.
Okay, thank you. I'll reach out to them, let them know.
Okay. We did get a request from a trooper. There've been some recent accidents at Weems Road and Christ Church, and
Is that 222?
yeah, 222 and 646. So we requested a traffic study on the 1st of July, and I would expect to see that in about 30 days. So as soon as I have that, I'll pass that along, and we'll see if any recommendations come out of that study.
All right. Also, while I was out in the community, one of the residents in that area asked me if I would present that to you. And he also said he had a concern about when you're coming out from Christ Church, that the brush need to be cut out at that intersection. He said you have to pull all the way out the road to be able to see what's coming, and that's dangerous.
That brush, Mr. Beal, is on when you come out of Christ Church, and if you look toward Weems, if you're going straight across or going to make a left turn, if you look down 222, that's where the limbs are overgrown, so you don't have a good sight distance down there.
All right,
So if you're coming from Christ Church on to Christ Church is 646. So if you come in, you're on 646 and you come up to 222, that's when you can't see what's coming out of Weems, unless you're interrupting the road.
David, I asked Mike about
Did the Lord
cutting
talk
that
to you?
Last month. And
Talk to us both?
I think I received an email. Do you have a piece of equipment that's down right now?
We may, but if we can take care of it. We're going to take care of it. We'll cut the whole intersection.
Yeah, okay.
While we're on that intersection, and Mr. Palin mentioned about the accidents, and you had talked about it, but I want you all to consider when you coming from 200 onto 222, there's an intersection sign there, right there at the crest of the hill. If you all would consider maybe some kind of caution lights or something on that same pole that's holding that sign, so that people at least would know, to kind of slow down, because it is 55 there. But it's almost too late when you drop down the hill and somebody's crossing the road there. Now, there's no sign coming from Weems. If you're driving from Weems, there's no caution sign saying that you're approaching the intersection or anything coming that way.
Okay.
So I was kind of surprised at that.
I'll make sure the signs are part of the review.
Thank you.
Anything else before we get to the resolution? All right. At this particular time, then, I move that we authorize the adoption of the Lancaster County Board of Supervisors resolution authorizing the submittal of a transportation project at the intersection of Virginia State Highway 3 and Virginia State Highway 794 for smart scale funding. You've heard the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And unanimous vote. Motion passed. Okay.
All right, thank y'all.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Presentations. All right, schools.
I guess the short version of this would be not much has happened this past week.
Weather's been great.
up at the school, but we can go ahead to the next slide. This branch is 2-week look ahead for the project. Still sort of in the same place we were from last month's report with the pouring of the wall on the backside of the school. You can see some of the milestones that they have going out. I hope by the next time I report to you that will all be finished, and we'll be showing some different things up here on the slide for you. And you know, you can still see that they're doing the. Go ahead, Don. Okay. You can still see they're doing some of the drilling for the geothermal wells and sort of how the site was. This shot was taken on Tuesday before we got the additional rain, and just wanted to highlight how the retention ponds are holding up with the storm water through the process. We'll get to the next slide.
You should know where the drainage is.
Yeah. It looks a little different today, so I'm glad I took those a couple of days ago because everything's a drainage ditch now. You saw this chart last time. These are all locations for the geothermal wells. There's 180 of these. They're a little over halfway through the drilling process. All these will be located underneath the parking lot of the school once completed. You can get to the next slide. And just kind of gives you a visual on, you know, where they are through that process as they go. So again, this is another milestone. Hopefully by next month they'll have these wrapped up and have some of these. You won't even be able to see where these are because it'll be buried at that point. You can get to the next slide.
Is there any ongoing maintenance to those wells that have to occur, or like?
I hope not, Jason, because they're going to be buried underneath the parking lot. So things do go wrong. You know, it's mechanical. So
Is it
things,
somewhat reason why you have so many of them? Because if a few of them were to fail,
exactly,
it'd still be okay?
it's over-engineered. So if you did lose, I think it's about 10 different units that come into the school. So we can run on 8 of those, I believe is what it is. So you can lose a certain percentage and still be okay on that. But they're pretty deep. I believe the lines are going to be about 3 to 4 feet deep underneath the parking lot. And they test everything very, you know, there's a high level of testing that goes on the system before they close anything up. So I hope that nothing happens, but things do happen. Get to the next slide. Again, this is just a general layout. It's to help you as we go through the next few slides, just get an idea about, you know, where you are on the thing. Route 200's up on that top edge of the page. Good. This photo was from last month. You can tell how dry it was. And it's just to give you a quick idea about the progress over the past few weeks. You can see where they were on the wall last month when I gave the report. And the next slide down. Shows you how far they've come. Those forms that are in place, that'll actually be poured tomorrow. That's on schedule to be poured tomorrow. There's one more set of forms that you can see they've already had built up. And once the form cures, they can move over and get that last pour in. So that should be wrapped up in the next few weeks. Okay, next slide. Again, just another shot of the site. I was calling this my Olivia Hall shot. So I always like to highlight how those retention ponds are holding up through the project, and you know, things are moving along. They have been impacted this week because of the weather. Some stuff happening, and I've noticed, and you guys probably noticed too, as you're driving by, there's a lot more cars up on the side of 200. We're hoping next week they get a temporary road put in, and so it'll alleviate some of those cars and stuff that are up on the side of 200. So to get more the construction trucks on the site. Any questions?
Any questions, gentlemen?
Yeah.
No?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now we're moving into a public hearing. Mr. Gill?
Mr. Chairman, your first public hearing deals with a proposed amendment to the existing ground lease agreement between the County of Lancaster, which owns the property, and SBA Communications Corporation, which is the tenant. And this is the cell tower area behind the sheriff's office. As part of the ongoing P25 emergency radio communications upgrade, The county originally was going to place that equipment on the monopole guide tower by the sheriff's office, but as the design team got into it, they realized that that tower would not be capable of handling the weight of the equipment. So we looked at putting the equipment on the SBA tower, and we've secured a spot on that tower. The problem is we also need an equipment shelter on the ground, and the current lease area, which is 60 by 60, is not large enough with the existing equipment sheds that are on the ground to also handle the county's equipment shed for the emergency radio equipment. So we need to amend the lease agreement to add 10 additional feet, 10 by 60. So we're going from 60 by 60 to 70 by 60, basically to accommodate the county's upgrade to the emergency radio system.
Okay, this is the public hearing session, and we're going to hear from you in the public here. Again, you have 3 minutes, and at the end of 2 minutes, I will hold this sign up, letting you know you have 1 minute left. And I always say, please get right to the point. Tell us what you want to tell us and what you want us to know, what you want us to consider. All right, and do that so you have plenty of time to do it. All right, at this particular time, the floor is now open for any public comments. No one signed up, okay. Anybody online?
Nobody's on.
Okay, floor now closed for public comments.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that the amendment be approved.
Can I ask a question really quick? Are
Yes.
we expecting a cost to this?
There's no additional cost based on this amendment. There is a fee to lease a space on the tower. That's not changing, but there's no additional cost for this additional lease area.
So there'll be a change order for that cost change, or
No,
or is it
no.
already approved?
No. Once you all approve it, it's approved. There's no change order.
Okay, you heard the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That's motion passed unanimously, okay? Second one.
Mr. Chairman, your second public hearing is to consider a small revision to our Chesapeake Bay Preservation Act ordinance. It recently came to staff's attention. I think Mr. Cornwell told Olivia about it, that the the Chesapeake Bay Preservation Act, where it's located in state code, was recently repealed. It was section 10.1, 2100 et al. And that got totally repealed, and they put all of those requirements in a new section, 62.1, et cetera. And so we don't want to have our ordinance cite the wrong state code. So that's the only revision tonight, is to correct that state code so we can maintain enforceability of the Chesapeake Bay Act ordinance. I will say that there are some additional revisions that will have to be in place by July of 2025 dealing with resiliency. And the Planning Commission, because this is part of our zoning ordinance, will be looking at that over the coming months. And so a further revised Chesapeake Bay Act ordinance will come back before you in a future month for consideration. But tonight, the change is to have the correct state code cited in our ordinance.
This is like a typographical error. I mean, Olivia has been through our Chesapeake Bay Act. She advises me that it is identical to the provisions under 62. It's just that our ordinance references 10.2, which is now repealed. I think we probably could have done it administratively, but I thought it might be better coming to the board for approval. We didn't send it to the Planning Commission because it is such a typographical type of change. We thought we'd just get it approved by you folks and move on.
Okay, good. Before I open it up for public hearing, you have any questions, gentlemen? No. Okay. At this particular time, the floor is open for public hearing on this matter. Again, you have 3 minutes. At the end of 2, I'll hold this up. Anyone? Anybody online? No, sir. Floor now closed. I entertain a motion.
We approve these updates.
Okay, you've heard the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed unanimously. Okay. Mr. Gilman.
Mr. Chairman, your third public hearing deals with proposed amendments to several different articles of the Lancaster County zoning ordinance. that will need to be amended related to the short-term rental ordinances. In order, Article 1, definitions, the amendment to include the definitions of short-term rental operator, short-term rental hosted, and short-term rental unhosted. Article 4, which is our agricultural general A2 district, the amendment is to add a permitted use of short-term rental hosted and another permitted use of short-term rental unhosted with a special exception. Article 5, residential general R1 district, the amendment is to add the permitted use of short-term rental hosted and another permitted use of short-term rental unhosted with a special exception. Article 6A, residential community R4 district, the same amendment to add a permitted use of short-term rental hosted and another permitted use of short-term rental unhosted with a special exception. Article 7 is basically the same amendment, but Article 7 already had tourist home as a permitted use. Tourist home is kind of an archaic way of describing a short-term rental, so the amendment is to delete tourist home as a permitted use and add the permitted use of short-term rental hosted and another permitted use of short-term rental unhosted with a special exception. Article 18, waterfront residential overlay district, the amendment to add the permitted use of short-term rental hosted and another use of short-term rental unhosted with a special exception. The final amendment is to Article 29, your short-term rental regulation ordinance. The board adopted this in September of 2023, but postponed enforcement of it until all of these other zoning ordinances could be amended, and to allow time for the public to realize what was going on here as well. While we were awaiting that out, the General Assembly changed the definition of short-term rental hosted. So we had to go back and have the Planning Commission change under definitions, Article 1, that definition of short-term rental hosted, as well as in Article 29, where the definition is listed again, short-term rental hosted. We had to make a change to what we had due to recently enacted state code. So these are the changes. During the Planning Commission meeting, I know there were a couple of folks who wanted to go back and talk about things that had already been discussed in the short-term rental ordinance. You may hear some of that tonight, but the only amendments that are being proposed is to correct that definition of short-term rental hosted in Article 29. And these are all related amendments, but Jim, do they have to vote on each article separately? No? Okay.
I would say this, though, that when we adopted the short-term rental regulations back in September of '23, we withheld enforcement. So if it is your desire today to adopt these, we need to make them effective immediately so that we can then commence with enforcement.
I have a question about, it relates to enforcement. In the definitions, it talks about hosted being that of your primary residence. We've already got issues now with businesses and what that home-based business interpretation of what that means, and maybe some stretching of what that actually means. What kind of documentation will we require, whether it be mortgage documents or insurance documents that prove that it's your primary residence? And not just somebody saying, oh, this is my primary residence, when in fact it's not.
Unfortunately, the change came from the General Assembly, not from us. So we're just going to have to consider it on a case-by-case basis. If someone comes in, or we get a complaint, and we go out and they say we're hosted, and we're going to have them establish that they're actually hosted.
But they still have to register where they're registered, correct?
They do, yes.
So in order to get the hosted, they're going to have to prove that it's their primary residence. They can't just say, oh, it's my primary residence. We got to have some evidence or documentation. Otherwise, it's unenforceable.
Automobile registration, things like voting registration, things like that, probably be used to.
Well, I think we need to make a list of those things, what is required, and incorporate that into the rules or the ordinance or something. Because it's a problem now with the home-based business is like, we need to make sure that if someone's starting a home-based business, or whether it's a hosted Airbnb or a non-hosted Airbnb, that it's actually in fact what it is, and we can prove that with some real documentation, not just somebody's word, because we know that's not going to be good enough. And people will abuse that if
And it
that's
may-
the standard.
And it may change. It may be a hosted this year, next year, it may be an unhosted.
It could be.
Yeah.
I mean, that's always a flexibility if somebody's
Yeah.
conditions changing, but.
We can certainly,
Again-
we can certainly put those parameters in our application,
Yes.
in the special exception application, so that, we'll
We're not
know.
regular, right?
But if it's hosted, it's no special exception.
No.
That's
No.
true, yeah. Well,
So it have to be application.
we'll have to do that when they register. We'll have to put it in the registration form.
Yeah.
Registration.
Because it really only applied to the ones that are claiming.
Yeah. If you look to, and I don't have the exact percentage, but previous research has said that like 95% of all short-term rentals are unhosted, and there's only a very small percentage that's hosted. So, I mean, hosted, the property owner needs to be there all the time while it's being rented out, and there's very few of those. But yeah, we can certainly look at adding those parameters to our rental registry form.
'Cause I mean, I think it's important that we have some kind of legitimate documentation that we can fall back on. Otherwise, it's like,
Because I can see somebody coming in and say that they don't live there,
yeah, I mean, we have a lot of second homes here, and people will claim them as their primary residence when in fact they're not.
Can you share with us at the next meeting what those parameters are? And
Yeah,
if they're
we
in
can-
place, because if we're going to vote on this and to be effective immediately, we need to have this start immediately.
Of course, we have always, as most counties do, operate on a complaint basis.
Yeah.
But
So if we get a complaint, first thing we would look to see is if they registered. If they didn't register, then we would tell them they needed to register.
Yeah.
And proceed from there.
Well, that's also too, like when they come in to register and they're like, okay, I'm a hosted Airbnb, then you're gonna have to fill out this application, pay the $50 fee, and present the documentation that it's your primary residence.
Right, right. I agree.
All right. Any additional questions before I open up, or comments before I open this up to the floor? Okay, if not, I'm gonna open it up now to the floor for your input. 3 minutes. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Bruce Edwards, and I have a short-term rental in our community that has been somewhat disruptive. But what I would like to say tonight is enforcement of if a short-term rental does something, gets 3 strikes, I think y'all had discussed, and y'all no longer give them the permit, what happens? Who enforces if they continue to rent? Secondly, if you do yank someone's permit to do short-term rentals, will y'all notify Verbo and Airbnb and those people that their permits have been, suspended?
Part of the problem is that, in my understanding, the treasurer still gets a check from VRBO and others that is not itemized.
Correct.
So we don't know who they're paying us for. So it's kind of hard to recognize whether John Smith's B&B is actually under Verbo or not, because we don't get a listing of, you understand what I'm saying? We don't get a listing of what short-term rentals are paying to Verbo. They don't provide that. All I can say is that we enforce our ordinance. I was in court just a few days ago enforcing our ordinance against the property owner. We enforce on a complaint basis. If we receive complaints and we notify them to cease use as a short-term rental, and we get a complaint that they still are, we will go to the circuit court and get an injunction.
To stop it?
Yeah. That's what an injunction does. It stops it.
Okay, well, I also read where there's a minimum of $10 to $1,000 fine, and some of these people are making $800 a night, and a $1,000 fine is nothing.
Right. And
It's
that's why-
not a deterrent.
And that's why we seek an injunction, which is a court order ordering to stop. And if they don't do it, they're subject to fine or imprisonment by the circuit court.
Okay. Is there anything, one of my neighbors asked me to ask this, he has a situation where they walk their animals, not on leashes, and inevitably they go up into yards and do their business and, just walk away. Is that an infraction?
Probably not. That might be an infraction of allowing an animal to run at large, though.
Yeah. If that would be an unhosted situation and which requires a special exception, then that may be something the board could address with a condition placed on the special exception. But the county does not have a leash law. I mean, the towns, I know Kilmarnock does, and I'm not sure about Irvington and Whitestone, but the county itself, we do not have a leash law. But we do have animals roaming at large.
Okay, and if we witness or experience an infraction, who do we tell? Who do we go to?
You call the Planning and Land Use Office here at the county. And I can say that because Olivia Hall is on vacation tonight, so.
And I would also encourage, I would say just the general public and generally if that's a reoccurring problem, that they should report that to the Board of Supervisors as well. Because
Yes.
the ultimate
agree
buck
with that.
of where the buck stops on that ordinance, and if there's a problem or a tweak that needs to happen, we can direct that and make it happen.
Okay.
So if we're unaware, sometimes we don't know the problem, we can't fix it.
All right, the only thing I'm a little unclear on is if you have the people who are renting, the property owner who is renting, you have their name, address with the county, and you know they're renting through Airbnb. How is that a problem to let Airbnb know?
We don't know that. That's what I'm saying. Airbnb doesn't give us a list of property owners that
But all you have to do is look on Airbnb.
you can look on the site.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's not rocket science. I mean,
But we don't have a written document. We can look on the website and we can authorize an enforcement action based upon the website, but it's a proof matter.
And I don't think it would make any difference anyway, because, state law requires these platforms to give us itemized lists, and we only have one platform that's, obeying the state law right now. And these big companies, the State Attorney General's office is fighting that. But, if we sent a letter to Airbnb, I'm not sure it would make any difference. Our teeth is going to come from, if there is a complaint, if there's multiple complaints, the county will, send letters, last of which would be, notice of violation. And if they still refuse, then we hand it over to the county attorney who goes to circuit court with them. So,
my last question. My understanding from prior meetings, the occupancy amount, it depends on what the health department has for the septic. If the septic has, or the health department has for 3 bedrooms, that's 6 adults and 3 children, is that my correct understanding? And my question is, if we see 10 people, 12 people there, adults,
Then you file a
is that a violation?
You file a complaint with Olivia Hall and we'll investigate it.
Okay. That's all I have.
Thank you. Someone may have a question. I allowed him more than 3 minutes. I allowed him 3 minutes, but I always paused when we gave an answer. So he still got his 3 minutes, okay? All right, so I want to make sure that I'm treating everybody fair. All right, yes, ma'am.
I'm Donna Dole, and I live at 180 Boathouse Cove. My question is, based on the health department septic permits, is the zoning department going to require that a copy of that septic permit be given to them?
we have a copy of the septic permits in our building department files.
Okay, that was my only question.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anybody online?
Yes.
Okay.
Jeffrey Allen.
Mr. Allen, you may speak, sir. Mr. Allen, unmute and you have 3 minutes. Can't hear you. Still can't hear you, sir. Is he on the right site?
His 3 minutes are up.
All right.
Anyone else?
Well, sir, we can't hear you, so we're gonna move on.
Nobody but him?
Ask him to submit it in writing.
Yeah, we can't hear you, so move on, and if you like, you can submit it in writing. Okay, thank you. All right, anyone else? Anyone else online?
No, sir.
All right, okay, at this particular time, public hearing session is closed. All right, gentlemen, I entertain a motion.
I move that we adopt, would you like me to adopt all the articles or just the part one of the zoning ordinance?
No,
You can do them all.
yeah.
That we accept the revisions to part one of the zoning ordinance and that they are articles 1, 4, 5, 6A, 7, 18, and 29, and these are to start immediately.
Okay, and did we want to add something else to that in the discussion?
Just the documentation be added into whatever the application or.
Yeah.
We'll add that to it. Mr. Wood, want to add that to the motion?
And documentation for policing,
The registry application or special exception application.
yes.
Yeah. And that we do this
Immediately.
immediately. All right.
I said
Okay. You've heard the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passed unanimously. Okay.
And now that it's in place and enforced, now is going to begin enforcement, how are we going to start notifying the special exception applicants that we already know about?
Olivia will send a mailing to the ones who have registered, and then, as Mr. Cornwell said, we're complaint-driven, so we'll, look at the ones we have complaints for. And we've had several people already, wanted to fill out the special exception application and come before the board. So that's how we'll proceed.
There also is, as you probably know, there's also a kind of an infrastructure that's built up around these, including people who get hired to clean them, people who get hired to do the work and so forth. I'm assuming that if we need to find out things, we'll find out things.
Yeah.
The ones that are unhosted, I guess more or less, I'll use the word grandfather. They're grandfather until they come before us.
I'm not certain of that fact.
Some way we're gonna have to.
They may claim to be grandfathered, but if they didn't register with the registry, they may not be.
Yeah. Because we're probably gonna run into some of this.
Yeah.
I had a long discussion with another county attorney today just about that very fact, and I'm not deciding that they're grandfathered because I think that's a bad decision to make. Let's see where this thing goes. Because we have a registry requirement, and if they didn't register, we wouldn't know about them, so how can they be grandfathered? But we may have to get there someday. We'll see.
Yeah.
What was the penalty for not registering?
It was, it's a $500 fine if you do not register, and it's a $50 annual fee.
And
Does Olivia do any research and look for ones that aren't registered, or is that just, again,
Yes.
solely complaint-based?
No, currently we've got 58 short-term rentals registered, and, that number grows a little bit each month. So, they'll probably be the ones that will come and seek a special exception first, and then those others will probably be complaint-driven.
interestingly enough, the statute on the short-term rental specifically provides that simply because they register does not prevent land use decisions relating to special short-term rentals.
Well, there's a big fight of this at the upper levels of government to strip local authority of any kind of protection on this. So it's something you got to constantly be aware of, that whatever we do could be undermined very quickly by the General Assembly or the federal government.
Yep.
Consensus, Doc?
We did adopt the amendments to the short-term rental regulations too? Is
Yes.
that part of that motion? Okay.
I consider a motion on the consensus document.
I move for approval of the consensus document.
All right, heard the motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimously passed. All right, the consideration of salaries and invoices.
They're loaded up here and big enough so me I can see them with my blind eyes.
You at that age.
Yeah, I need my glasses. In this case, I've got magnification. I move that we approve the expenditures for the month of July and the amounts of total invoices, $2,187,521.43, of which payroll was $458,183.77, for a total of $2,645,705.20. Capital improvements were $1,199,037.07, and ARPA funding of $77,541.90.
All right, you've heard this, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
This motion passed unanimously, okay? Mr. View.
Mr. Chairman, your second consideration item deals also with our emergency communication radio system upgrade. The tower on Good Luck Road, we also need to locate emergency equipment, radio equipment on that tower. It's a co-location. Article 25 requires that a special exception be granted to co-locate equipment on an existing tower. This Article 25-17-3 says that a special exception to co-locate does not require a public hearing. That's probably the only special exception that I'm aware of that does not require a public hearing, but this one does. And in effect, the Board of Supervisors would be granting a special exception to itself. But you know, this is on the record and it's clean, and so that's why it's before you tonight. There is a one-time co-location fee that the county would need to pay to American Tower of $2,000. That's to offset structural analysis and site inspection fees that they do to make sure that the tower can withstand the additional weight of the equipment. That one-time fee was part of the project estimate and has been budgeted in the capital improvement budget for this project. So,
Okay. Any questions, gentlemen? Comments?
I move that we approve this special exception to co-locate the county emergency radio system on this tower on Good Luck Road.
All right, you've heard the motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passed unanimously, okay?
Did you also need to include that license agreement? Or is that part of it?
yes, as approving that license agreement that's in there, so yes.
That was part of the motion, right?
Okay.
Yeah, that was part of the motion, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, now, okay, number 3.
Mr. Chairman, as you know, back in 2021, the Board of Supervisors adopted a resolution approving the county's participation in settlement of opioid-related claims against McKesson, Cardinal Health, Amerisource, Bergen, Janssen. In 2023, you did a similar resolution approving settlement of claims against Teva, Allergan, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS. And here's another one that's pending against Kroger. And in order for the county to receive its fair share of this settlement, you need to adopt a resolution as well. And so the resolution is before you, very similar, just the names changed, and I'm asking you to approve that tonight.
Any questions, statements? All right, I entertain a motion.
I move that we adopt the resolution.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed unanimously. Okay. Board reports. Any board reports?
I'll go. Well, gentlemen, I was fortunate enough as your VACO rep to also be the national board rep to the National Association of Counties, and I recently attended the annual conference in Tampa. And so there's a lot of work being going on right now by NACO to implement a lot of the historic legislation that's been passed over the last 3 years during the Biden administration. And so some of the things I think that could be useful to some of our residents include their work on the PACT Act. This is for our veterans to provide disability and benefits to them regards to exposure to toxic chemicals and things during their service. This has pretty wide-reaching benefits for vets. It was And so I encourage any of our vets to reach out to us and to take a look at these as possible options for some of the health conditions they may be facing. As well, they're doing a lot on the infrastructure bill, so we still may be opportunities with the Norris Bridge to get funding from the infrastructure bill. If we can get that moved along, we can get that project moved up faster on the list of potential funded projects instead of being in 2035 currently. They're worked on the final guidance and flexibility on the ARPA funding, so that's provided a lot of flexibility, and a lot of the work they've done to negotiate that was at the NACO level. So commend them on that. We're in the final year or so of that spend down, and the flexibility has been greatly widened for counties due to the lobbying work they've did. Other things that are, we recently passed the opiate settle. They're doing a lot of work on opiates. They have a lot of partners with opiates. One of the things we can spend our money on was a partner that could send out these kits, and these would be sent to residents, and these will allow them to dispose of their opiate medication safely. These packets will neutralize the opiates and make them harmless to anybody, and then make a way to dispose of them. So that would be a possible use for some of our ARPA money to engage in some kind of benefit like that. Otherwise, you look at some of the things we may engage in could be ongoing funding uses. This could be a one-time thing. They're doing a lot of work in AI. That's going to be sort of like the new, what the website and the World Wide Web was 30 years ago. AI is going to be revolutionary in ways that are be very beneficial to us, but there are also some things that we need to be on the lookout for. So they're doing a lot of work on that. So I encourage us to continue to work and network with that as that expands out, because it's going to have a big effect on our localities. And finally, I would just say that they have a lot of partners and things that they've worked out, and that could be leveraged to help us save money or be on purchasing, or when we do large purchases or things, they have procurement contracts and things. So when we're looking to do things in the future, they have a lot of great products we could look at as well. With that, that concludes my board report.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Let me ask a question. North Bridge. I think I was reading where the two towns had written resolutions.
Yeah, I saw that too, but I mean, VDOT has
we
not, VDOT has not asked the county to do anything similar,
Yeah.
so.
Because we passed a resolution before, didn't we?
Yes, we've passed
Yeah.
2 or 3 resolutions dealing with the Norris Bridge over the years. So, yeah, I saw that in the paper too, but VDOT hasn't requested anything from the county.
Has VACO or really anyone, any localities discussed any further the situation with our EMS and us having to stock our own rescue squads?
Yes, I brought this up at the national board meeting as well, and so I think it's definitely on their radar. At that meeting, when I made that comment to the national board of directors, Loudoun County was present there, and some of their representatives came over and introduced themselves and said they're fighting this as well. They didn't think anybody else was out there, so they were happy to see
Everyone's
that.
out there.
But I think what I told them, I was like, I just don't think the supervisors across the Commonwealth and are aware of the scope of this, nor did it seem that their federal legislators, congressmen and senators were really aware of it, because they had the next day after the conference, they had a meeting with Wexman's office, who was their congressman, scheduled. So they were going to get her to start to address the issue as well. That's why I think we need to get an answer from our congressman and see what he can do. It's all hands on deck at this point.
Yeah.
And it seems to me that what I told Loudoun County is like, I don't think the people that can make the decisions and push back and raise the hay really know about it. That's us, the elected officials. The administrators have just been given the task and have been dutifully doing their jobs without any kind of like questioning of this. And now it's our job to question it and get the right people to the table to answer those questions, or to kill this thing. Ultimately, what I'd like to see happen.
And VACO's aware of this as well, correct?
They are aware of it. They're working on it. I'm going to make more comments at the Board of Directors meeting, at the VACO meeting in 2 weeks. And so every supervisor in the Commonwealth of Virginia is about to find out the real scope of what's going on.
Any other board reports?
I do. I have a board. I have a selection to the Social Services Board, and that is for Kathleen Conroy to serve.
Okay, you've heard that appointment, all in favor, or reappointment, all in favor, say
Reappointment.
aye.
Aye.
All right, she's reappointed. Any other board reports? County Administrator report.
Three things real quick, Mr. Chairman. First off, the Lancaster County Emergency Services has received the 2024 American Heart Association's Mission Lifeline EMS Gold Achievement Award for its commitment to offering rapid and research-based care to people experiencing the most severe form of heart attacks and strokes, ultimately saving lives. I point this out because this is the 6th time that our EMS staff have received this award. So I think you all probably received an email some time ago, but I want to state that publicly, that we're very proud of our EMS here in Lancaster.
I think Chief Smith's doing an excellent job.
The second thing I want to bring up is, we talked about a burn ban resolution, and we've got that drafted and ready to go if it turns really dry again. We've had some beneficial rainfall over the past couple of weeks. But I want to also bring up the possibility of a resolution to declare Lancaster County a disaster area due to drought and heat. Northumberland has already done that, and if it's the board's wish, we'll prepare that resolution and have you adopt that at the August meeting. So you don't have to vote on that, but just if I can, if that's everybody's on board with that, that's yeah.
Does this help with like federal money?
It helps with federal aid to farmers for for decreased yields and yeah, and early corn has been hurt. There's no doubt about that. Late corn is
How's your sweet corn?
The rains helped that. The early sweet corn was not non-existent. And the rains will help soybeans. But as Craig can attest to, there's going to be a decrease in yields this year for sure.
Well, I was at a farm credit meeting last week, and I heard that if not all but maybe 2 counties in North Carolina had already applied for the disaster designation. So I know they've been hit really hard. And when I traveled down 95 the other day, it was pretty. It made our area look a lot better than what they had down there. So I think this is all along the East Coast from what I've heard.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think we ought to get on board as soon as we can.
All right, and the last thing is just to remind you all of the groundbreaking ceremony at Windmill Point, Tuesday, August 6th at 9 a.m. There'll be a press release going out next week to inform everyone of that, and so that's a big milestone for the county to get that project going.
That's 9:30, you said?
At 9 o'clock,
9 o'clock.
on site, Tuesday, August 6th. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I have one thing I want to make the board aware of. As you know, we are, all local governments in Virginia are subject to the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. And we get requests under the Freedom of Information Act and we respond to them. There seems to be a new thing going around now that people are sending Freedom of Information Act requests by email, which I assume they can do, but they close attachments, which is supposedly their request. But when you click on the attachments, malware. And I've had at least several attorneys in the state have had issues with their FOIA officer clicking on the attachment. The malware is, it gets into a system and it takes a lot of time and money to clean it up. I bring that to your attention because it's happened to us. We did not click on it, but it happened to us. And it happened in the registrar's office, am I correct? I would hope that we could get VACO and maybe NACO to address these issues and somehow do something with the Virginia Freedom of Information Act to, stop this practice or something. We also, a lot of localities receive multiple Freedom of Information Act requests from the same people over and over and over and over again. And the time and effort that takes to respond. I'm not saying that it's wrong, I'm just saying that there has to be some limit both on how you do it and how many times you do it. I know that when I was county attorney in New Kent, we had one person who I think filed 63 Reclamation Act requests in 2 months. That's one a day. Just the time and effort in responding to them. I don't know the answer, but particularly this malware thing has got to be solved, because we can't very well get an email from a citizen that has an attachment and then click on it and shut our system down. So I'm grasping for a solution, as is all the other county attorneys in Virginia. I don't know what the General Assembly would help us or not, because they seem to kind of say, oh, you got to answer it no matter what.
That's because they're exempt.
Yes, exactly right. So I just bring it to your attention, it's happened. We are on guard against it, from happening again, but there's no guarantee it won't happen again.
Can I make another quick comment? I got the email from the gentleman that was going to make the public comment, Mr. Allen.
We got it.
He sent me a text message. He was from High Banks, and he was asking about the zoning there because it was something that's now abolished.
Yeah.
How does that fit into this new regulation, and how will it be enforced there?
Yeah, in his particular instance, High Banks was zoned R2, which has been repealed.
Well, the ordinance has been repealed, not sure the zoning classification.
Okay, and we did not, or the board did not approve any amendment to a repealed R2.
Right.
So if someone in High Banks,
It's not permitted.
it's not permitted. So I
It's
think,
not permitted if it's not allowed.
I think your action tonight has solved Mr. Allen's problem.
So they're not permitted to do,
They would be, they wouldn't be permitted to have a short-term rental in R2 in Lancaster County.
Now, we will have to, and Olivia and I have had discussions about this, we will have to do something about it.
Yeah.
We just haven't got to figure out what yet.
so currently, going forward, it would just be
It's not
banned or
Yeah.
not a permitted use. Thank you for that, only privilege.
He's still online.
I don't know if he may be, I'm not sure,
Yeah.
he just sent me a text message, and I
He's-
thought I would ask.
He's probably clapping right
He's
now.
still online.
Raise his hand for everyone.
Yes, let him come on. All right, we waiting on you, sir.
He best mute himself.
Okay, we can't hear you.
He's clicked on some malware.
He's got some malware.
You know, I'm thinking about what you said about the FOIA request. A lot of times, if people are asking for this, if they just come in and just sit down and discuss it, they get all the answers they want and the information they need, and they'll get up most times satisfied.
The only thought I had is some minimum fee.
Yeah.
What we already charged for
$5. We do charge for.
Charge
time
for
and all that
copies,
answer.
yeah.
But I'm talking about just a minimum fee to make the request, like
Yeah.
$5. And that would require them to send us a check, I'm sure there's ways to work around it, but at least we know there is somebody.
Yeah.
And they do have a, request, and they're a resident of Virginia.
Yeah.
Because you can't make a request if you're not a resident of Virginia.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they have made some tweaks to it, and Baco has done a lot of work on this, because there is a lot of issues, and
I
it's
just
like,
bring it to
it's
your attention.
transparency versus like, in a lot of ways, it makes government less transparent.
Well, it makes government more expensive.
Well, it does, but it's working in the opposite way now, because of the amount of like bureaucratic like requests and things have driven more conversations to be between a supervisor and you off the cuff, like, or just things like that occurring, instead of being like
Written document.
email, people sending emails or text messages or documents. It's leading to people not using that as much and those sources as much.
Like the request I got in New Camp, they wanted to know what the chairman and the vice chairman talked about in the elevator. So the response was simple. I'm sorry, no such document exists.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, unless we have anything else, we can move to a closed meeting.
I move that the Board of Supervisors enter a closed meeting for one personnel per section 2.23711A, A1 of the Code of Virginia as amended, 2, acquisition, disposition of real property per section 2.23711A3 as the Code of Virginia as amended. And 3, legal matters per section 2.23711A8 of the Code of Virginia as amended.
All right, you've heard the motion. All in favor say aye. Aye. All right, motion passed unanimously. We're now in closed. Supervisors adopt the following certification. First of all, I call this meeting back to order. All right, we're out of closed session. I move that the Lancaster County Board of Supervisors adopt the following certification resolution. Do I need to read all of this for tonight?
Does he need to?
Pursuant to the resolution, anybody object to, state your objection, otherwise, do I hear a motion?
All right, you've heard that. Anybody object? All right, okay then. Certify. Mr. Palin, I certify. Mr. Bellows?
I certify.
Mr. Lee?
I certify.
Mr. Geezy?
I certify.
Mr. Smith?
I certify after you read all that.
All right, this certification resolution is adopted. Obtain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye, we are adjourned.